Thank you, Dan, Michelle, and Charles. I'm honored that you've invited me to serve as your commencement speaker. And I don't want to waste any time, so I'd like to just get right into it. There are 3 ways to properly begin a commencement speech. You can introduce yourself, you can share a quote, or you can read the Webster's Dictionary definition of a word. In preparation for this speech, I considered all 3 options. I eliminated the Webster's Dictionary option because I couldn't think of a good word to define. Then I had 2 choices. Introduce myself or share a quote. I couldn't decide. So I'm going to start with an introduction and a quote. Hello, everyone. My name is Amelia. It's great to be here. Amelia Earhart. She probably said that. She probably said that a lot. I'm sorry. Come on. This isn't right. You guys didn't invite me here to goof around. Tell you fake Amelia Earhart quotes. No. You invited me here to orate, which Webster's Dictionary to speak in an elevated and often pompous manner. That's why I'm here. And I promise you, my speech will be both elevated and pompous. It will be the best, most beautiful speech you've ever heard. But before I go any further, I want to make a correction. Earlier I said that there are 3 ways to begin a commencement speech. There's actually a 4th way, and it's the, when I sat down to write this, meta preamble opening about writing a speech. But I would never do that. You'd have to be pretty self-involved to do that. Today, you guys have worked really hard, and you deserve a real Amelia Earhart quote. Famed aviator Amelia Earhart once said, "You can do anything you decide to do. You can act to change and control your life, and the procedure, the process, is its own reward." It's always a challenge to understand the original intended meaning of a quote, especially a quote from so long ago. 80 years, more than 80 years have passed since Amelia Earhart spoke those words. So I'm only speculating when I say she probably wasn't talking about the Goddard Graduate Institute. But we can't know that with certainty. Who's to say? Let's just pretend for a moment that she was. Let's do something we've all done as graduate students. Let's take a quote and pull it out of context and just use it however we want. Out of context, doesn't that kind of sound like something you could have heard at your G1 orientation? Like, you can do anything you decide to do. And the procedure, the process, is its own reward. Yeah, I mean, that's sort of, the first bit is self-explanatory. At Goddard, within reason, you can kind of do whatever you want, within reason. But the second half of the quote is sort of what jumps out to me. The process is its own reward. The process. I should explain. For any family members, of friends, of graduates, or any G1s, or G2s, G3s, G4s who don't pay attention. Trust the process is a phrase that's sort of a refrain at Goddard. Gets used a lot. I can give you an example of how it might be used. A new student gets to Goddard with a plan for what she's going to study. That plan inevitably changes. She loses it and starts to panic. An advisor or another student might tell her, trust the process. I remember feeling confused by the phrase because I didn't quite understand it. When people said trust the process, what I heard was relax, go with the flow, which is terrible advice for a self-guided program. that nothing would happen. You wouldn't get done. But as it turns out, that's not what trust the process means. It doesn't mean go with the flow. Trusting the process isn't a passive act, it's action-based. And I'm sorry to go Webster's dictionary on you again. But there's a definition of process that's a systematic series of actions directed to some end, which sounds like the least Goddard phrase ever. But that's what it is, basically. And I bet you guys can't count the number of times you heard trust the process. If you counted, please tell me. I would love to. Sometimes it inspired you, sometimes it probably made you roll your eyes, but you must have trusted the process at least a little bit because you're here. Your systematic series of actions got you to this end. I'd like to revisit that Amelia Earhart quote. Remember that quote of hers about Goddard? You guys know. You can do anything you decide to do, and the procedure, the process is its own reward. I really hope that you leave Goddard believing that the process is more than just a means to an end, that there's value in the work itself. The process wasn't always enjoyable, it was sometimes stressful, because parts of it were uncertain. And trusting the process requires a level of comfort with uncertainty. That hypothetical new student panicked when her plans changed because all of a sudden she was facing uncertainty. And of course, she would have rather been certain because certainty is safe, it feels safe. You're leaving Goddard with a complete thesis and a diploma, but I believe the most valuable thing that you will leave Goddard with is an increased tolerance for uncertainty, perhaps even a fondness for it. Your ability to navigate uncertainty is what's going to serve you in whatever you do next. Del Close was this innovative teacher of improv in Chicago. He taught Chris Farley, Tina Fey, Stephen Colbert, and he used to tell his students, follow the fear. I think follow the fear is great advice, unless the source of your fear is imminently physically dangerous. Don't follow a grizzly bear, for example. But in other situations, follow the fear is great advice, especially in improv. It's advice that I really needed when I started taking improv classes. I signed up for my first class convinced I was going to love improv. I'd gone to shows and watched improv. The performers, they looked like they were having so much fun. And when I got to my first class, I had a rude awakening, because improv was not fun. It was terrifying. As I said earlier, uncertainty is uncomfortable. And when you do improv, you're almost always uncertain. You step out on stage, your scene partner steps out on stage, you look each other in the eye, and really hope that the other one has something to say. If that scene is going to go anywhere, you both have to follow the fear. I didn't have a choice in my improv classes. I had to let myself be uncertain. And I wouldn't say right away that I enjoyed it, but it's a skill that, like anything else, the more you do it, the easier it becomes. There is not anything on these pages. That's not a joke. Like improv, life is unpredictable. It's just inevitably unpredictable. We have a lot of big questions to think about right now, like, is there anything that we can do to stop global warming? And why aren't they letting Rosie O'Donnell play Steve Bannon on SNL? I don't know the answer. But anyway, it's all uncertain, and we might as well become comfortable with uncertainty, and then maybe take it a step further and learn to love it and embrace it. Because uncertainty is required for any actual change to happen. There's a quote by Rebecca Solnit that I was going to read, but instead I'll paraphrase. And it's that when you recognize uncertainty, you recognize that you have possibility to affect change. It's sort of, optimists believe that everything's going to be okay, that you don't have to take action. Pessimists think, no matter what I do, it won't take action. it doesn't matter. But part of hope is knowing that you can, with others or alone, affect change. She ends the quote by saying that you might not see the results of your actions. You might not ever in your life know what you're doing. I think here at Goddard, we have to do a lot of work on ourselves. We have to reflect on who we are in relation to our work and to the world. And I don't think you guys seem like the people that are going to just stop doing that when you leave. I think you're going to continue it. And I think you have to. You have to keep reinventing yourself, redefining yourself, refocusing your goals. And when you do that, that's how you can face the uncertainty that's always going to be in the world. There are 3 ways to conclude. The first is to thank the audience for their attention. The second, to wish the graduates best of luck in the future. And the third is to quote a First Lady of the United States. Today, I am going to quote 2 First Ladies simultaneously. Michelle Obama and Melania Trump. The only limit to the reach of your dreams is the efforts you put forth to achieve them. Michelle Obama and Melania Trump.